Welcome to audiobook segment. Every story you'll hear is crafted from the ground up, written, produced, and narrated entirely by us. Nothing recycled, nothing repurposed, just original work made for this channel. So grab your headphones, settle in, and enjoy today's audiobook. Success is not built in one day. It's built in the quiet moments when no one is watching, in the choices so small that they almost seem invisible. Every morning you wake up, every decision you make, every small effort you give adds up to the story of your life. We often believe success comes from one big leap, a lucky break, a sudden change, a moment of brilliance. But the truth is, success grows slowly, like a seed turning into a tree. It starts with tiny actions, repeated every day. The difference between who you are today and who you want to become lies in the habits you keep. Think about brushing your teeth. You don't need motivation for it anymore. It's automatic. That's the power of habits. Imagine if your most important goals could feel that easy, that natural. That's what this audiobook is about, turning small, simple actions into automatic patterns that lead to big success. You don't need to be the smartest, the strongest, or the luckiest person in the room. You just need to be consistent. Success doesn't require massive effort, it requires steady effort. Little improvements, repeated over time, can transform everything. So, as you listen, don't look for instant change. Look for one small thing you can start doing today. One action that takes you one step closer to your better self. Because that's how big things begin. Small, simple, and consistent. If you find value in this audiobook, remember to subscribe and share it with someone who's also trying to grow. Sometimes, one shared idea can start a chain of change. Now let's begin this journey together. One small habit at a time. Chapter 1. The Power of Tiny Action. Change rarely happens in a single moment. It begins quietly in the smallest steps, often unnoticed. One extra push-up, one extra page, one small choice to do what you said you would. These tiny actions may seem insignificant, but over time they shape your identity and your destiny. The power of tiny actions is simple. Small things, repeated consistently, create massive impact. When you start something new, excitement drives you. But excitement fades. What remains is discipline, and discipline lives in the small daily acts that most people overlook. You don't need a grand plan or huge bursts of motivation. You need one small, repeatable action that moves you forward. Imagine two ships leaving a harbor. One points just 1 degree off course from the other. At first, they seem to be going the same direction, but after hundreds of miles, they end up in completely different places. That's how habits work. One small change in your daily behavior might not feel important now, but months later, it can completely change where you end up. The truth is, we underestimate the value of small progress because it doesn't give instant results. You can go to the gym once and not see change. You can read one page and not feel smarter. You can save $1 and not feel richer. But compound those actions, and the results will astonish you. Success doesn't come from a single day of effort. It comes from what you do every day. Tiny actions are powerful because they are manageable. They don't require huge energy, perfect timing, or big motivation. They just require a decision. Do it once today, then again tomorrow, and the next day after that. Momentum builds quietly. Soon, what once felt difficult starts to feel natural. That's when real change begins. Think of a single drop of water hitting a rock. One drop does nothing, but drop after drop, over months and years, the rock wears down. It's not the force that matters, it's the repetition. The same principle applies to your mind, your health, your work, and your dreams. Repetition creates strength. Most people fail not because they dream too big, but because they quit too soon. They start strong but expect quick results. When those results don't appear, they give up. But the people who succeed understand the secret. Small wins every day lead to big victories later. It's not speed, it's direction and persistence that matter. When you focus on tiny actions, you remove the weight of perfection. You stop worrying about being great right away. You just focus on showing up. Doing a little bit every day keeps you moving forward, even on bad days. And that movement is what keeps success alive. Small habits also build trust, not with others, but with yourself. Every time you keep a promise to do something, even something small, your mind begins to believe you. You develop confidence because you prove that your words mean something. Confidence is not built by talking about change. It's built by showing up and acting, one small step at a time. The most successful people aren't those who do everything perfectly. They're the ones who do small things consistently. They make their habits work for them. A writer writes 1 page every day. A runner runs for 10 minutes even when they don't feel like it. A leader listens carefully to one person each day. These aren't huge efforts, but they multiply. Over time, they build mastery. Tiny actions create momentum. Once you start, your brain wants to keep going. Finishing one small task triggers a sense of satisfaction, and that feeling motivates you to do more. It's like pushing a snowball, small at first, but as it rolls, it collects more snow, grows larger, and moves faster. Momentum begins small but becomes unstoppable. There's a quiet magic in starting small. You don't need to announce it. You don't need permission. You simply begin. Every small action is a seed, and every seed has the potential to become something much greater, but only if you keep watering it, day after day. Most people want change to happen fast. They chase big moves, the perfect plan, the new job, the bold decision. But real success is slower, deeper, steadier. It grows quietly beneath the surface before anyone notices. You won't feel it at first, but one day you'll look back and realize how far you've come. When you take small actions consistently, you also change your mindset. You begin to think like a person who takes control. You stop waiting for the right time or the right mood. You simply act, and that action changes everything. Because success doesn't come to those who wait, it comes to those who build it. One small habit at a time. Tiny actions teach patience. They teach focus. They remind you that progress is not about dramatic moments, but about daily effort. The journey feels long, but the reward is stability, a kind of quiet confidence that grows with every step. You may not see the results today, but trust the process. Every small improvement compounds. Every repetition strengthens you. Every choice you make to keep going, no matter how small, is another brick in the foundation of your success. Tiny actions are also powerful because they're contagious. When people around you see your consistency, they get inspired. Your small habits influence others. Family, friends, co-workers. Your discipline becomes a quiet form of leadership. And perhaps the greatest power of small actions is that they are always within your control. You might not control outcomes, timing, or opportunities, but you can always control your next step. That step, however small, keeps your life moving forward. So start today. Choose one small action that moves you toward your goal. Write one sentence, walk 5 minutes, save $1, smile at one stranger. Do something small and keep doing it. Because the path to big success is built from small steps taken consistently over time. When you understand this, you stop chasing sudden breakthroughs. You start trusting small beginnings. You realize that every great achievement you admire started with someone doing something small, quietly, without applause, every single day. Small actions, repeated daily, create change that lasts. They build habits, they build strength, they build success. And one day, when you've been showing up long enough, you'll look around and realize your small steps have become something extraordinary. That's the power of tiny actions. Chapter 2. Why motivation fails and systems win. Motivation feels powerful. It gives you energy, excitement, and a sudden sense of purpose. When you're motivated, everything seems possible. You make plans, set goals, and imagine your success. But as quickly as motivation appears, it disappears. It fades when you feel tired, stressed, or distracted. That's why motivation alone cannot carry you to success. Motivation is like a spark, bright but temporary. A spark can start a fire, but only discipline and systems keep it burning. If you depend only on motivation, you'll move fast at first, and then stop when life gets hard. Systems are what keep you going when motivation fades. Think about the last time you felt inspired to change your life. Maybe you promised yourself to wake up early, exercise, or read every day. The first few days felt easy because the excitement was fresh. But after a week, when you were tired or busy, that same excitement was gone. You didn't lose your goal. You just lost the feeling. And when the feeling goes away, most people stop. The truth is, successful people don't rely on feelings. They rely on structure. They build systems that make success automatic. Systems are the routines, habits, and processes that work even when you don't feel like working. Systems turn discipline into a lifestyle. For example, imagine two writers. The first one writes only when she feels inspired. Some days she writes for hours, other days she writes nothing. The second writer sits down every morning at the same time and writes for 30 minutes, no matter what. After a few months, the second writer has written far more pages, not because she was more talented, but because she had a system. Motivation is emotional. Systems are logical. Motivation depends on mood. Systems depend on design. That's why systems win every time. You can't control your feelings, but you can control your structure. When your structure is strong, your habits protect you from your weaker moments. Motivation also fails because it's built on expectation. When you expect results quickly, you feel motivated. But when progress is slow, you lose interest. Systems don't care about speed. They focus on direction. You simply follow the process, one day at a time, trusting that small actions compound into big outcomes. A system doesn't need to be complicated. It can be as simple as setting a fixed time to practice, creating a checklist, or designing your environment so that good habits become easier. For instance, if you want to eat healthy, a system might be preparing your meals every Sunday. If you want to read more, a system could be keeping a book next to your bed. Motivation depends on willpower. Systems reduce the need for willpower. The less you have to think, the easier it is to act. Systems automate your behavior. That's why successful people spend less time deciding and more time doing. They don't waste energy debating whether they feel like it. The habit decides for them. Motivation often fails in the face of emotion. Stress, boredom, or fear can destroy your desire to act. Systems protect you from that emotional roller coaster. They don't require passion every day, only consistency. When you follow a system, you take action, even on bad days, and those bad day actions are the ones that build real strength. Let's imagine another example. A student decides to study more this semester. At first, he's excited. He makes a schedule, buys notebooks, and studies for hours the first week. But when the excitement wears off, he starts skipping sessions. Soon, he's back to old habits. His plan depended on motivation. Now imagine another student who decides to study for only 20 minutes every day right after dinner. No excuses, no emotion, just habit. After a month, he's consistent. After 3 months, studying becomes natural. He didn't rely on motivation. He relied on system, and that's why he succeeded. Systems also help you recover faster when you fail. Motivation makes you emotional about failure. You feel like giving up. Systems treat failure as data. You simply adjust and continue. A system doesn't judge. It learns. That mindset keeps you in motion, even after setbacks. Another reason motivation fails is because it depends on external triggers, a motivational speech, a video, or praise from others. Those things can inspire you, but they can't sustain you. Real growth begins when you learn to act without external push. Systems give you that independence. They make your progress self-powered. The beauty of systems is that they create results without stress. When your habits are organized, you stop worrying about when to act. You just follow the plan. Every repetition strengthens the pattern. Over time, your identity changes. You stop saying, "I'm trying to be consistent." You start saying, "I am consistent." Motivation often hides a problem, the belief that success must feel exciting all the time. But real success feels boring. It's built from repetition. Systems embrace that boredom. They turn routine into power. When you stop chasing excitement and start embracing process, you finally start growing. Think of an athlete training every morning before sunrise. Some days she feels tired or unmotivated, but she still shows up. That consistency builds strength, not just in her body, but in her mind. Her system, her schedule, her habits, her preparation carries her forward when her emotions can't. Systems don't eliminate motivation, they multiply it, because when you see results from your consistent habits, you naturally feel motivated again. But this time, it's not random, it's reinforced by proof. You trust yourself more because you've seen what your system can do. To build systems, start with one routine that matters. Make it simple enough that you can do it even on bad days. Don't rely on inspiration. Rely on design. The more your system supports you, the less you'll need to fight your emotions. When you live by systems, your success stops being a matter of luck or mood. It becomes a matter of math. Do the work, repeat it, and the results will follow. No drama, no panic, just steady growth. Motivation is a visitor, systems are a home. Motivation knocks, gives you energy, and leaves, but systems stay. They give you structure, stability, and freedom. You don't wait for the perfect mood. You act because it's part of who you are. The people you admire, the entrepreneurs, the artists, the athletes, they're not motivated all the time. They've just built systems that make consistency unavoidable. They've learned that freedom doesn't come from feelings. It comes from discipline. So if you find yourself saying, "I wish I were more motivated," change your question. Ask, what system can I build so I don't need motivation? Because once you stop depending on feeling ready and start building systems that make action automatic, success becomes inevitable. The next time you want to improve, don't chase inspiration, build structure. Make your system so clear and so simple that it's impossible to ignore. And then watch what happens. Your small, consistent efforts will start to grow. One day at a time, motivation may start your journey, but systems will take you to the finish line. That's why, in the long run, systems always win. Chapter 3. The Science of Habit Formation. Every action you take is a vote for the kind of person you want to become. But before a habit becomes automatic, it passes through a simple, powerful process. Understanding this process is the secret to creating lasting change. Habits are the invisible architecture of daily life. They decide how we spend our mornings, how healthy we feel, and how productive we are. Yet most people never think about how habits actually form. They think habits are just about willpower or discipline. But science tells a different story. Habits are built by a loop. This loop has three parts: cue, routine, and reward. Every habit begins with a cue, something that triggers the behavior. Then comes the routine, the action itself. Finally, there's the reward, the feeling or outcome that teaches your brain to repeat the behavior next time. Imagine you walk into your kitchen in the morning and smell coffee. That smell is your cue. You pour a cup and take a sip. That's your routine. You feel warm, alert, and comfortable. That's your reward. Your brain notes this pattern and stores it. The next morning when you smell coffee again, the loop starts automatically. That's how every habit, good or bad, forms. Your brain loves efficiency. It doesn't want to make decisions over and over again. So it automates repeated actions. The more you repeat a behavior, the stronger the neural pathway becomes. That's why habits feel automatic after some time. The brain's goal is not to make you successful, it's to make you efficient. That means it will create habits whether they serve you or not. If you check your phone every 5 minutes, your brain builds that loop. If you go for a walk after dinner every day, it builds that too. The brain doesn't judge, it just records. The challenge then isn't building habits. You already have them. The challenge is building the right ones and breaking the wrong ones. Scientists have discovered that habits form through repetition, not motivation. Motivation gets you started once or twice, but repetition wires the behavior into your brain. The moment an action becomes easy and automatic, it becomes a habit. That's why consistency matters more than intensity. Let's take an example. If you do 50 push-ups one day and then nothing for a month, your body won't change. But if you do 5 push-ups every day, the repetition builds strength, both in your muscles and in your mind. Small actions, repeated often, create transformation. The same rule applies to studying, saving money, or learning a new skill. Repetition builds identity. Every time you repeat a behavior, you are saying to yourself, "This is who I am." You are not just doing the thing, you are becoming the person who does that thing. That's why habits are more powerful than goals. Goals focus on results. Habits focus on identity. When you say, "I want to run a marathon," that's a goal. But when you say, "I'm a runner," that's identity. And identity lasts longer than motivation. Once your habits align with your identity, discipline becomes easier. You don't have to push yourself to do what feels natural. A runner runs, a reader reads, a healthy person eats clean. Your actions reflect your identity, and your identity grows stronger with every action. This is why changing habits isn't about forcing yourself. It's about reprogramming your cues and rewards. If you want to start a new habit, make the cue obvious, make the action easy, and make the reward satisfying. Let's say you want to start reading before bed. Your cue might be placing a book on your pillow. The action is reading 2 pages. The reward is the calm feeling you get before sleeping. Repeat that loop every night, and soon your brain will crave that feeling. If you want to break a bad habit, do the opposite. Make the cue invisible, make the action hard, and make the reward unsatisfying. If you want to stop eating junk food, don't keep it in the house. If you want to stop scrolling social media, move the app to a hidden folder, or log out each time. The harder the loop is to complete, the faster it weakens. Our environment plays a massive role in habit formation. Your surroundings constantly trigger your behavior. The same person acts differently in a gym, a library, or a party, because each place has its own cues. So if you want to change your habits, change your environment first. If your environment supports your goals, your habits will follow naturally. If you keep your workspace clean, you'll focus better. If you prepare your workout clothes the night before, you'll exercise more often. Your surroundings shape your behavior silently, every single day. Another truth about habit formation is that small wins matter. When you start small, your brain doesn't resist. Big goals can feel heavy, but small actions feel light. If you tell yourself to write 1 sentence, you'll probably end up writing a page. The trick is to start so small that you can't say no. Every small repetition adds a vote for the person you want to become. The more votes you cast, the stronger your identity becomes. Over time, small wins become big momentum. Let's look at how habits grow over time. In the beginning, you see almost no results. It feels like nothing is happening. But below the surface, your brain is building connections. It's like heating up an ice cube. You add heat, 25 degrees, 26, 27, and nothing changes. Then, suddenly, at 32 degrees, it melts. The energy was never wasted, it was stored. That's how habits work. You don't see progress for a while, but then one day, everything changes at once. The breakthrough happens because you stayed consistent through the boring middle. Most people quit before that turning point. They expect immediate rewards, but lasting habits grow like compound interest. Slowly, then suddenly. The longer you stay consistent, the more powerful the habit becomes. There's also a psychological reason why habits stick. When your brain predicts a reward and receives it, it releases dopamine, the feel-good chemical. But what's interesting is that dopamine spikes not when you get the reward, but when you anticipate it. That's why cues are so powerful. They create the craving that drives action. So, if you want to build a strong habit, connect it with a positive cue, a place, a time, or an event. For example, you might link stretching with brushing your teeth, journaling with morning coffee, or meditating right after waking up. By connecting a new habit to an existing one, you make it easier to remember. This is called habit stacking. Habit stacking turns your routine into a chain. One action naturally leads to another. Over time, this chain becomes your lifestyle. You no longer have to think about doing the right things. They happen on autopilot. The real science of habit formation is not about perfection. It's about repetition and resilience. You will miss days. You will fail sometimes. But missing once doesn't break a habit. Quitting does. The key is to never miss twice. As soon as you can, get back on track. Think of habits as seeds. Every small action you plant today will grow roots beneath the surface. It might not look like much now, but those roots are preparing for growth. Give it time, water and consistency, and it will grow into something extraordinary. When you understand how habits form, you gain control of your life. You stop blaming motivation and start designing your environment, your routines, and your mindset. You realize that success isn't a mystery, it's a system of repeated, intentional actions. Every person you admire lives by habits you don't see. Their success isn't luck, it's loops, repeated thousands of times until excellence becomes their default. So if you want to change your life, don't wait for inspiration. Study your loops, change your cues, celebrate your small wins, repeat the process. Habits are the quiet builders of destiny. Every day, they whisper the same question: who are you becoming? And the answer lies not in what you say, but in what you repeat. Chapter 4. Identity-based habits. Most people try to change their habits by focusing on what they want to achieve. They say, I want to lose weight. I want to be rich. I want to be confident. But that approach often fails because it starts from the outside. Real change starts from the inside, from who you believe you are. This is what we call identity-based habits. It means building habits that match the person you want to become, not just the results you want to see. When your habits grow from your identity, they last longer. When they grow from your goals, they fade when motivation fades. Imagine two people trying to quit smoking. One person says, I'm trying to quit. The other says, I don't smoke. The first person still sees smoking as part of who they are. The second person has changed their identity. Which one do you think will succeed? The answer is simple: the person who no longer believes they are a smoker. You act like the person you believe yourself to be. Every behavior you repeat confirms that belief. That's why true success starts with identity, not results. Think about this. Goals are about what you want to get. Identity is about who you want to be. When you focus only on the goal, you chase a finish line. When you focus on identity, there's no finish line, just growth. Let's take an example. Suppose you want to be fit. Instead of saying, I want to lose 20 pounds, say, I'm the kind of person who exercises every day. That small shift changes everything. Suddenly you're not chasing a number, you're living a lifestyle. Every time you show up to work out, you cast a vote for that identity. Each small action is a vote. Every time you read, you become more of a reader. Every time you write, you become more of a writer. Every time you practice kindness, You become a kind person. Habits shape identity, and identity reinforces habits. That's why changing your identity is the deepest form of growth. It's not about forcing yourself to do something. It's about proving to yourself who you really are, one action at a time. Let's imagine your identity as a circle. The outer layer is results, what you get. The middle layer is processes, what you do. And the core is identity, what you believe. Most people work from the outside in. They set a goal, then try to find habits to reach it, but the most powerful change works the other way, from the inside out. When your beliefs change, your actions naturally follow. This idea also explains why it's so hard to break bad habits. Bad habits are often tied to who we think we are. If you've always seen yourself as the lazy one, your brain will try to match that story. If you've always said, "I'm not good with money," you'll keep making choices that prove it. The brain loves consistency between belief and behavior. To change your habits, you must change your story. Every time you do something new, even small, you rewrite that story. The more you repeat the new behavior, the stronger the new story becomes. Here's a truth. Every identity is built on evidence. You don't become a writer by declaring it once. You become a writer by writing. You don't become fit by saying it. You prove it through action. That's why small repeated wins are so powerful. Each one is evidence for your new identity. Let's make this more practical. Suppose you want to become a more disciplined person. Don't start by overhauling your entire schedule. Start small. Wake up on time. Make your bed. Finish the task you promised yourself. Each of those actions is proof that you're disciplined. Over time, those votes add up. The goal isn't perfection, it's reinforcement. You're teaching your brain, "This is who I am now." That's how belief changes, not by force, but by repetition. Think of it like training a muscle. Every repetition makes it stronger. Every small success teaches your brain that this new version of you is real. Eventually, your identity catches up with your actions, and the habit becomes effortless. This is also why failure doesn't have to break you. Missing one day or making one mistake doesn't destroy your identity unless you let it. You can always say, "That's not like me. I'm the kind of person who gets back on track." See the difference? Instead of blaming yourself, you reaffirm your desired identity. When you think like this, failure becomes part of the process. Every time you recover, you strengthen your identity even more. Let's return to an earlier example. Think of a person who wants to be healthy. They skip one workout. Instead of saying, "I'm lazy," they say, "That's unusual for me. I'll be back tomorrow." That's how identity protects your progress. It gives you stability when motivation wobbles. Identity-based habits also help you avoid the trap of chasing endless goals. Many people hit their targets and then stop. The runner who finishes a marathon and quits running, the student who graduates and stops learning. That happens because their focus was on the outcome, not the identity. But when your habits are built around identity, the process never ends. The reader keeps reading, the artist keeps creating, the leader keeps improving, not because they have to, but because that's who they are. Let's pause here and reflect. Who do you want to become? Not what do you want to achieve. Who do you want to be? That question is the foundation of your habits. Once you know the answer, every action becomes easier to measure. If you want to be a calm person, ask, what would a calm person do right now? If you want to be productive, ask, what would a productive person do next? That one question can guide your behavior in any situation. Identity-based habits also change how you see time. When you chase goals, you think short-term, you want fast results. But when you live from identity, you think long-term, because you're building a way of life. You're not sprinting to a finish line, you're walking toward mastery. The power of identity-based habits lies in ownership. When you own your identity, no one can take it away. Even when life gets hard, you still know who you are. A disciplined person might have a bad day, but they will never stop being disciplined. Here's something powerful to remember. You can choose your identity at any time. You can decide to be the kind of person who shows up, who learns, who grows. You don't have to wait for proof. The proof will come from your actions. Change doesn't start with motivation. It starts with a decision. Every time you say, "This is who I am," and back it up with action, you shape your destiny. Identity-based habits give you freedom. You no longer need to rely on willpower because your actions feel natural. You're not fighting yourself anymore. You're being yourself, just a better version. At the end of the day, the question isn't whether you can change your habits. The real question is, can you change the story you tell yourself? Because your story decides your standards, and your standards decide your success. So if you want to change your life, stop saying, "I want to be." Start saying, "I am becoming." Every habit you repeat is a brick. Every belief you strengthen is a wall. Build carefully, consistently, and consciously. Over time, you'll look around and realize you've become the person you always wanted to be. Chapter 5. The Compound Effect. Success rarely happens in one big moment. It doesn't arrive like a lightning strike or a sudden miracle. It builds quietly over time, through small, consistent actions that seem almost too simple to matter. This invisible process is called the compound effect. It's one of the most powerful forces in your life, yet most people underestimate it. The compound effect means that small, repeated choices add up to massive results. Just like money earns interest and grows in a bank account, your habits earn interest through repetition. Each small action, when repeated, multiplies its impact over time. Imagine two people. One chooses to eat a small dessert every night after dinner. The other decides to skip it and go for a short walk instead. For a week, there's no difference. After a month, still nothing noticeable. But after a year, the difference becomes clear. One person feels heavier and more tired. The other feels lighter, stronger, and more energetic. That's the compound effect. The results of your daily habits are invisible at first, then unstoppable later. Small actions compound into powerful change in health, mindset, relationships, and success. The problem is, we often give up too soon. We live in a world that celebrates instant results. We want to see change now, a six-pack in a week, a business that explodes overnight, a transformation that happens fast. But real growth doesn't work that way. It happens slowly, quietly, in the background. It's like planting a seed. You water it every day, but for weeks you see nothing. Underground, though, the roots are growing. They're preparing for something you can't yet see. One morning, a tiny sprout breaks through the soil, and everyone calls it sudden success. But you know it wasn't sudden. It was the result of steady, unseen effort. That's what the compound effect feels like. It's boring in the beginning, but powerful in the end. You don't feel the changes daily, but over time, those tiny improvements shape your life. Let's talk about why the compound effect works. Each time you repeat a small, positive habit, you not only build skill, you build identity and momentum. That's 3 layers of growth happening at once. For example, if you read 10 pages a day, that's not just learning new things, it's also telling your brain, "I'm a reader," and it's giving you momentum to keep going tomorrow. 10 pages may not change your life today, but it changes who you believe you are, and that belief leads to bigger habits and bigger actions. This is how growth multiplies. Habits compound because they feed each other. One good habit creates another. A morning walk leads to more energy. More energy leads to better focus. Better focus leads to better work. Better work builds confidence. Confidence inspires new opportunities. Success is rarely one big breakthrough. It's a chain of small ones connected by consistency. Now think about how this works in reverse. Small negative habits also compound. Skipping a workout doesn't hurt you today, but skipping 10 builds a new identity. I'm someone who quits. Spending a little more money each day doesn't feel dangerous, but over time it creates debt and stress. The compound effect doesn't care whether your habits are good or bad, it just multiplies whatever you feed it. The question is, what are you compounding, progress or problems? This idea also shows why daily discipline matters so much. Most people wait for motivation, but motivation is like a spark. Discipline is the fuel that keeps the fire going. Every time you show up, even when you don't feel like it, you add another drop to your compound growth. You might not see it, but those drops are collecting into something powerful. The person who exercises for 10 minutes a day will eventually outperform the one who goes hard for 1 week and quits. Consistency beats intensity every time. Let's use a financial example to make it clearer. If you save $1 every day, it doesn't feel like much. After a month, it's only $30. But if you keep going, saving and investing, that small amount grows through compound interest. Years later, that tiny habit could mean financial freedom. The same principle applies to your habits. Each positive action pays interest, and the longer you stay consistent, the greater your return. Here's something important. The compound effect needs patience. You must learn to fall in love with the process, not just the results, because results come later. But the process happens now. If you can enjoy the daily act, reading, learning, exercising, improving, you'll never stop growing. This is why most people quit early. They mistake slow progress for no progress. They don't realize that every repetition is storing energy, like winding a spring. When the pressure builds high enough, success releases all at once. That's why you'll often hear people say someone suddenly became successful. But there's no such thing as sudden success. There's only sudden visibility. Success becomes visible after years of invisible work. Let's take a story. Imagine two woodcutters competing to chop down trees. One starts fast, swinging his axe with all his strength. The other takes short breaks to sharpen his blade. After a few hours, the first woodcutter grows tired, but the second keeps going steadily. By sunset, the second one has cut down twice as many trees. His secret wasn't strength, it was consistency and preparation. That's the power of compounding. Small, smart improvements multiplied over time. It's the same with learning. One person studies for 10 hours once a month. Another studies for 30 minutes every day. Who do you think remembers more? The second one, because repetition compounds memory. The more often you review, the deeper it sticks. The compound effect also explains why small habits feel easier but create bigger results. You don't need to make 100% improvement overnight. Just 1% a day is enough. If you improve by 1% daily for a year, you'll end up 37 times better. But if you get 1% worse every day, you'll nearly reach zero. Tiny changes, massive difference. And here's something even deeper. Compounding doesn't just apply to skills or fitness, it applies to your character. Every time you tell the truth, you strengthen honesty. Every time you keep a promise, you strengthen integrity. Every time you help someone, you strengthen compassion. Those qualities grow silently, but they shape how the world responds to you. People trust, respect, and follow those who show consistent strength over time. The compound effect teaches us that greatness is not built in a moment of inspiration. It's built in the small, unseen choices you make when no one is watching. The books you read, the effort you give, the thoughts you think, they all count. That's why it's dangerous to underestimate small actions. Missing one day doesn't ruin you, but it can start a pattern. Doing one small positive thing doesn't change you instantly, but it begins a new direction. Over weeks, that direction becomes destiny. So the real question is not, can I change my life? It's, can I stay consistent long enough for compounding to work? Because if you can, success is inevitable. At first, progress will look slow, but that's only because you're still in the early stages, the invisible growth phase. Keep going. The curve will bend upward. The results will multiply faster than you expect. Think about how compound interest works in nature. A bamboo tree stays underground for years before breaking the surface. Once it does, it grows several feet each day. The time it spent underground wasn't wasted. It was preparing. Your habits are the same. They grow roots before they show results. Every book you read, every workout you complete, every quiet moment you spend learning, those are your roots. You may not see them, but they're there, building your foundation. The compound effect rewards patience, persistence, and quiet effort. You don't have to be the loudest or the fastest, just the one who doesn't quit. So if you're in the middle of your journey and it feels slow, don't lose faith. You're compounding. Every small action matters. Keep your focus on the process. Celebrate the small wins. One day, you'll look back and realize that those little efforts created something extraordinary. The truth is simple. Small habits don't just add up, they multiply. The difference between success and failure is rarely in one big decision, but in the hundreds of small ones made every day. Each time you choose growth over comfort, focus over distraction, effort over excuses, you add another layer to your success. Over time, those layers form a masterpiece, your life's work. So, don't rush, don't compare, just compound. Because the person who compounds small good habits will always achieve big success, not suddenly but certainly. Chapter 6. Breaking Bad Habits. Habits are powerful. They shape our actions, our thoughts, and our results. They can build us up or break us down. While building good habits is essential, learning to break bad habits is just as important. Bad habits silently steal your time, energy, and potential, often without you noticing. Understanding how to stop them is the key to taking control of your life. Most people fail at breaking bad habits because they rely on willpower alone. They tell themselves, "I won't do it," and expect their brain to cooperate. But willpower is limited. It's like a muscle, it tires quickly. The moment you feel stressed, tired, or distracted, willpower weakens, and that's when bad habits return. The solution is not to rely on strength. The solution is to understand the pattern behind your habits and change it. Every habit, good or bad, follows a loop. Cue, routine, reward. The cue triggers the behavior. The routine is the action itself. The reward is the feeling or outcome your brain enjoys. If you want to break a bad habit, you need to disrupt this loop. Make the cue invisible, make the routine hard, or make the reward unsatisfying. Let's take smoking as an example. The cue could be stress, or seeing someone else smoke. The routine is lighting a cigarette. The reward is relief or comfort. To break the habit, you can avoid the trigger, replace the routine with something healthier, or associate the habit with negative consequences. Environment plays a massive role in bad habits. The easiest way to stop a habit is to remove the triggers from your environment. If you snack too much, don't keep chips in the house. If you scroll endlessly on your phone, move the apps or log out each time. Out of sight often means out of mind. Another reason bad habits persist is that they offer instant gratification. They feel good now, even if they hurt later. The human brain loves instant rewards. That's why we reach for sweets, procrastinate, or indulge in distraction. To break bad habits, you need to train your brain to find satisfaction in delayed rewards, the long-term payoff. Replacement is a powerful strategy. You rarely eliminate a habit completely. You replace it with something healthier. If you bite your nails, keep your hands busy with a stress ball. If you want to stop procrastinating, start small with a 2-minute task. The new habit satisfies the same need, but in a way that serves you. Awareness is the first step. You must recognize when, why, and how a habit happens. Keep a small journal or mental note. What triggers the habit? what you feel before, during, and after. Understanding the patterns gives you control. You can't change what you don't notice. Accountability also helps. Tell someone your goal to stop a habit. When you know someone is watching or supporting you, your brain resists the urge to give in. Sometimes even writing it down, "I will not scroll after 10 p.m., creates a tiny layer of accountability. Breaking bad habits also requires patience. Change doesn't happen overnight. Expecting instant results sets you up for disappointment. Habits are stubborn because they are wired in your brain. You have to work consistently day after day to weaken them. Every time you resist, your brain learns a new pattern. It rewires slowly but surely. Self-compassion matters. Beating yourself up for slipping once only strengthens negativity. Instead, notice the slip, reflect, and get back on track. Missing a step is not failure. Quitting is. Every effort to resist counts, even if imperfect. Another strategy is habit stacking in reverse. Instead of adding a good habit to an existing routine, you remove a bad habit by linking its cue to a neutral or positive routine. For example, if you often snack while watching TV, prepare healthy snacks in advance, or change the environment so eating isn't automatic. Over time, the old habit fades. Visualization can help too. Imagine yourself succeeding, resisting the urge, or acting differently. Your brain responds to repeated images, almost as if they were reality. Visualization strengthens your will and reinforces new neural pathways. It's also important to reduce temptation gradually. Going cold turkey works for some, but for many, slowly adjusting is more sustainable. Cut down the behavior step by step. The slower approach allows your brain to adapt without creating intense resistance. Tracking progress is vital. Each time you resist, note it mentally or physically. Small victories matter. The brain needs reinforcement. Every win adds confidence, proving to yourself that change is possible. Some habits are social. You eat, drink, or act a certain way because of the people around you. Changing your circle or setting boundaries can reduce triggers. Surround yourself with people who encourage the habits you want to maintain and limit exposure to those who reinforce the habits you want to break. Breaking bad habits also teaches resilience. The more you resist, the stronger your self-control becomes. Each choice to act differently trains your brain. Over time, the new normal becomes easier than the old behavior. Remember, bad habits are not moral failings. They are learned behaviors. Your brain created them to cope, survive, or seek pleasure. That means you can also learn new behaviors to replace them. Knowledge empowers you to take control rather than blame yourself. One practical approach is creating a list of habit replacements for common triggers. Identify what you do automatically and decide in advance how you will act differently. Preparation reduces reliance on willpower. Consistency is key. Even when progress feels small or invisible, every day counts. The compound effect applies to breaking habits too. Each successful choice strengthens new neural pathways, making the bad habit harder to trigger. The path to change is rarely smooth. You will face cravings, boredom, and stress. The secret is persistence. Keep going, even if imperfect. Every step forward counts, and over time, you gain momentum. Breaking bad habits also frees up mental energy. Bad habits drain willpower, distract attention, and create stress. When you remove them, you create space for productive, positive action. Another important point is celebration. Reward yourself for progress, no matter how small. Celebrating positive change reinforces new habits. Your brain learns to associate resisting the old habit with satisfaction. Finally, remember that breaking bad habits transforms your identity. Every time you resist a destructive habit, you are telling your brain, "I am not that person." Over time, your identity shifts. You begin to act naturally in ways that reflect your new self. Breaking bad habits is not easy, But it is possible. By understanding the cues, routines, and rewards, by controlling your environment, replacing behaviors, and practicing patience, you can regain control over your actions and your life. The people who succeed aren't the ones without bad habits. They are the ones who learn to master them. They use awareness, strategy, and persistence to guide their behavior. They don't rely on fleeting willpower. They create systems that make bad habits irrelevant. Your habits don't define you, but your choices do. Every moment you resist, every small action to replace the habit, every effort to stay consistent is another brick in the foundation of your better self. Breaking bad habits is challenging, but each success builds momentum. The more you master your actions, the more freedom you create. The freedom to become the person you truly want to be. And that freedom, that control over your life, is priceless. Chapter 7. Environment Design for Success. Your environment is like the silent partner in your life. It shapes your habits, your thoughts, and ultimately your results. The people you spend time with, the spaces you inhabit, and the objects around you all influence your behavior, often more than you realize. Designing your environment intentionally can make success easier and failure harder. Most people underestimate the power of environment. They believe success comes from willpower and discipline alone. But your environment either supports your habits or sabotages them. It can make good actions easier and bad actions harder. The trick is learning to design your life so that the right behaviors happen naturally. Think about a messy room. You walk in and see clothes on the floor, dishes on the desk, and papers everywhere. Without thinking, your brain feels overwhelmed. Motivation drops. You delay work. You pick up your phone. Now imagine a clean, organized room. You walk in and instantly feel calm, focused, and ready to act. The environment nudges you toward productivity. Even small changes matter. Where you place your things can guide your behavior. Put your workout clothes next to your bed. Keep healthy snacks in sight and junk food out of reach. Place a book on your pillow, not buried in a shelf. The easier it is to act, the more likely you will act. Your social environment is equally important. People influence your habits, sometimes without you noticing. If your friends constantly complain, procrastinate, or indulge in unhealthy behaviors, it becomes harder to maintain good habits. Conversely, spending time with motivated, disciplined, and positive people encourages the same behaviors in yourself. Your environment also determines your cues. Cues are triggers that prompt habits. A clean desk cues focus. A running shoe by the door cues exercise. A journal on your nightstand cues reflection. By placing cues intentionally, you guide your behavior without relying on willpower. Designing your environment isn't just about removing bad cues, it's about creating opportunities. The more your environment supports the person you want to become, the easier it is to act in alignment with your goals. Make the right actions the default, reduce friction for good habits, and increase friction for bad ones. For example, if you want to stop checking social media late at night, charge your phone outside the bedroom. If you want to eat healthier, prep meals in advance and remove processed snacks from your kitchen. If you want to read more, keep a book within arm's reach at all times. Small, intentional changes can create enormous results over time. Technology can be both a helper and a hindrance. Notifications, apps, and screens can pull you away from your priorities. Adjusting your digital environment is crucial. Turn off unnecessary notifications, organize your apps, and use tools that support focus instead of distraction. Your environment shapes your identity too. When your surroundings reflect the person you want to become, it's easier to act like that person. A tidy workspace signals professionalism. A room with books signals learning. Gym shoes by the door signal fitness. The world subtly reminds you who you are. Habit stacking works well with environment design. Stack habits onto existing routines and spaces. Place a water bottle on your desk to remind you to drink more water. Keep a gratitude journal next to your coffee mug. Let your environment cue the behavior you want, and it becomes automatic. Another key principle is reducing decision fatigue. Every decision you make tires your brain. If you have to decide every day when, where, and how to act, you're more likely to choose convenience over growth. By designing your environment, you reduce choices and make the right actions easier. Even the physical layout matters. The way your home or workspace is organized can guide flow and focus. Create zones for different activities, a place for work, a place for rest, a place for exercise. Clear separation reduces distractions and strengthens habits. The compound effect applies here too. Small environmental adjustments today multiply over time. One book on your desk might seem minor, but repeated exposure to reading cues builds a habit. One healthy snack on the counter may seem small, but over weeks and months it shapes your nutrition. Think about your environment as a reflection of your goals. The spaces, objects, and people around you are constantly influencing your behavior. When you design your environment intentionally, you create a life that makes success easier and failure harder. Environment design also teaches self-responsibility. You stop blaming external circumstances for your behavior. Instead, you recognize that your surroundings shape your actions, and you can shape your surroundings. Control your environment, and you control your behavior. Consistency in environment is key. Changing your space once is not enough. You must maintain it and adjust as your goals evolve. Habits require ongoing reinforcement, and your environment is the strongest reinforcement. Even small rituals can anchor your environment. A morning coffee ritual at the same spot every day can cue productivity. An evening walk can cue reflection and rest. Repetition turns spaces and actions into powerful signals. Sometimes changing your environment requires courage. You may need to leave toxic relationships, rearrange your home, or adjust routines. But the reward is freedom. By creating supportive spaces, you reduce the need for constant willpower and make good habits the default. Your brain craves simplicity. A well-designed environment reduces mental friction. When the path to action is clear and easy, you act automatically. When the path is cluttered or confusing, action stalls. Designing your environment also works in reverse. To break bad habits, make them harder to do. Remove triggers, add steps, and increase friction. Want to watch less TV? Move the remote to another room. Want to stop snacking late at night? Keep the fridge closed and lights off. The harder it is to act, the less likely you will. Remember, your environment is not neutral. It constantly shapes you, whether you notice it or not. By taking control of your surroundings, you take control of your habits, your identity, and your life. Small adjustments today create big changes tomorrow. A clean workspace, intentional placement of objects, supportive friends, and mindful digital use, all these add up. Over time, they compound into a lifestyle that naturally supports your goals. Success is not just about what you do, it's about where you do it, who you surround yourself with, and what cues exist in your life. Design your environment, and the rest becomes easier. By shaping your spaces, your routines, and your circles, you reduce friction for the behaviors you want and increase friction for the behaviors you don't. You create a life that guides you toward growth automatically. Environment design is not a one-time act. It's a continuous process. Review your spaces, habits, and influences regularly. Keep adjusting, keep refining, keep designing a life that makes your best self inevitable. When your environment supports your goals, motivation becomes unnecessary, actions become automatic, good habits thrive, bad habits fade, and success, not sudden, but steady, becomes your default. Chapter 8. Tracking progress and staying consistent. Success is not an accident. It doesn't happen by chance, luck, or a single burst of effort. It comes from consistent, intentional action. But consistency is not easy. Life gets busy, motivation fades, and distractions appear. The key to lasting growth is tracking your progress and staying committed, even when results seem invisible. Tracking progress gives you feedback. It shows you what's working and what's not. Without tracking, it's easy to drift. You think you're improving, but habits slowly weaken. You feel stuck, frustrated, or lost. By measuring your actions, you gain clarity and control. Most people track only outcomes. They weigh themselves, check their bank account, or count how many pages they've read. That's helpful, but incomplete. True tracking focuses on behavior, the actions you repeat consistently. Did you show up? Did you take small steps toward your goals? That's the real progress. Results are the consequence, actions are the cause. Think of habits like planting seeds. You water them, give them sunlight, and protect them. You can't force them to sprout overnight. But if you track your care, you ensure growth. You can see patterns, notice changes, and stay on course. Tracking doesn't need to be complicated. A notebook, a calendar, or a simple app is enough. The important part is consistency. Record your actions daily, even when you don't feel motivated. Over time, these small entries reveal patterns and create accountability. Consistency is built on small wins. Each time you follow through, you reinforce the behavior. Even a tiny victory counts. Did you meditate for 2 minutes? Did you write one sentence? That's a vote for the identity you're building. Small actions repeated consistently lead to compound results. Sometimes it helps to track your progress visually. A habit tracker or calendar shows streaks and gaps. Seeing a chain of completed actions motivates you to keep going. No one wants to break a chain they've built. The visual reinforcement strengthens your commitment. Accountability matters too. Sharing your goals with someone you trust creates external support. When someone checks in, you're more likely to follow through. Accountability can be a friend, family member, coach, or mentor. It doesn't have to be formal, even casual check-ins work. Consistency also requires flexibility. Life is unpredictable. You will face obstacles, setbacks, and distractions. Consistency doesn't mean perfection. It means returning to the process quickly after a slip. Missing one day isn't failure. Missing 2 or 3 in a row can be managed with reflection and recommitment. Self-reflection strengthens tracking. Take time weekly or monthly to review your progress. Ask yourself what worked, what didn't, what patterns emerged. Reflection turns raw data into insight, allowing you to improve and adjust your strategies. Tracking also builds awareness. Often we overestimate our effort. We think we've been productive, but habits slip unnoticed. Writing down actions makes you honest with yourself. Awareness is the first step to improvement. Another reason consistency matters is identity. The person who acts consistently begins to see themselves differently. You're not just trying to read or exercise, you are a reader, a runner, a learner. Consistency shapes identity, and identity reinforces consistency. It becomes easier to act because it's aligned with who you believe you are. Even small amounts matter. Consistency doesn't require perfection or huge effort. Writing 1 paragraph daily compounds over months into a full manuscript. Exercising 10 minutes daily builds strength and stamina. The brain learns gradually, and the habits take root. Motivation fluctuates. Some days you'll feel energized, other days drained. That's why relying solely on motivation is risky. Systems, tracking, reminders, and cues carry you forward when motivation fades. Habits supported by environment and tracking remain consistent. Tracking progress also makes growth visible. Often, we underestimate our improvement because it happens slowly. Looking back at your records after a month or 2 reveals progress you didn't notice day to day. This builds confidence and reinforces commitment. Reflection also helps identify obstacles. If you're not consistent, tracking shows why. Are you tired at a certain time? Are distractions too strong? Do you need to adjust your environment or routines? Data guides strategy. Persistence is key. Results may appear slow, but that doesn't mean you're failing. The compound effect works quietly. Every small action adds up. Consistency, maintained over weeks and months, creates powerful momentum. Celebrating milestones reinforces consistency. Each time you reach a goal, no matter how small, acknowledge it. Rewards can be simple: a personal note, a treat, or a brief pause to appreciate your effort. Recognition strengthens habit loops and motivates continued action. Accountability, reflection, and celebration combine to make tracking effective. Together they create a feedback loop. Observe your actions, adjust as needed, and reinforce the behaviors you want to maintain. Remember that setbacks are part of the journey. You may miss a day, fail at a task, or face unexpected challenges. Consistency is not about never failing. It's about always returning. Each return reinforces resilience and strengthens identity. Over time, tracking and consistency reduce mental effort. Actions become automatic. Habits no longer require conscious thought. You act in alignment with your goals effortlessly because you've trained yourself through repeated, intentional behavior. Your environment supports this process. Habit cues, organized spaces, and supportive people reinforce your commitment. Tracking ensures you notice progress, stay accountable, and adjust strategies when necessary. Consistency transforms effort into results. The best way to think about consistency is like compounding interest. Small, repeated actions grow exponentially over time. A single day of effort has limited impact, but repeated consistently, it creates massive results. Tracking ensures you don't miss those small, critical actions. Staying consistent also requires mindset. Focus on long-term growth, not instant results. Trust the process. Celebrate small victories. Recognize that improvement is gradual, but inevitable if you persist. Accountability, reflection, tracking, and celebration combine to create momentum. Momentum reduces friction, making consistent action easier. As habits compound, motivation becomes less important. The process carries you forward naturally. Even when life feels chaotic, tracking keeps you anchored. Daily notes, routines, and small check-ins remind you of your priorities. They guide behavior and maintain alignment with your goals. Ultimately, consistency is freedom. The more consistent your actions, the more predictable your outcomes. You gain control over your life, your habits, and your future. Tracking progress ensures you stay on course, even when challenges arise. By focusing on action, observing results, reflecting on patterns, and staying committed, you create a life where success is inevitable. Each small choice, repeated consistently, compounds into extraordinary outcomes. The secret is simple. Track what matters, act consistently, and return quickly after setbacks. Growth happens quietly, but steadily. Every day counts, every action matters, and over time, your consistent efforts shape your destiny. Chapter 9. The role of mindset in habits. Your mindset is the lens through which you see the world. It shapes how you think, how you act, and how you respond to challenges. When it comes to habits, mindset is the hidden engine driving every action. Without the right mindset, even the best strategies fail. With the right mindset, even small habits can create massive success. There are two primary types of mindset: fixed and growth. A fixed mindset believes that abilities, talents, and outcomes are set in stone. People with a fixed mindset may think, "I'm just not good at this," or "I'll never change." A growth mindset, on the other hand, believes that skills and behaviors can improve with effort and learning. People with a growth mindset see failure as feedback and action as the path to improvement. Habits are easier to build and sustain when you adopt a growth mindset. Why? Because you understand that every small action counts, every repetition strengthens you, and every mistake is a lesson. A fixed mindset looks for quick results and gives up when progress is slow, while a growth mindset keeps moving forward. Your beliefs shape your behavior. If you believe that you are disciplined, capable, and able to grow, your actions align with that belief. If you believe that change is impossible, your habits reflect that too. The brain acts in accordance with identity, and mindset defines your identity. Consider this. When you face a challenge, your mindset determines your response. A person with a fixed mindset might give up after a single setback, thinking, "I can't do this." A person with a growth mindset sees the same setback as an opportunity to learn and adjust. The actions you take after setbacks compound over time into either success or failure. Mindset also affects how you perceive habits. A fixed mindset sees habits as chores, something you have to do. A growth mindset sees habits as choices, something you do to become the person you want to be. This subtle shift changes motivation entirely. To cultivate the right mindset, start by noticing your self-talk. Pay attention to the words you use when thinking about your habits. Are they limiting, negative, or doubtful? Or are they encouraging, open, and solution-focused? The language you use shapes your thoughts and actions. Reframing challenges is a powerful tool. Instead of saying, "I can't stick to this habit," say, "I'm learning how to stick to this habit." Instead of thinking, "I failed today," think, "I'm improving my process." This mental shift strengthens your resilience and reinforces a growth-oriented identity. Mindset also determines how you handle discomfort. Habits often involve doing something you'd rather avoid. Early mornings, exercise, studying, or resisting temptation can be uncomfortable. A fixed mindset sees discomfort as a reason to quit. A growth mindset sees discomfort as the training ground for growth. The more you embrace discomfort, the stronger your habits become. Visualization reinforces the right mindset. Imagine yourself as the person you want to become, disciplined, focused, energetic, and consistent. Picture yourself completing habits effortlessly, handling challenges with grace, and achieving results over time. Repeated visualization aligns your beliefs and actions. Gratitude strengthens mindset as well. Appreciating progress, no matter how small, trains your brain to focus on positive outcomes. Instead of feeling frustrated by slow progress, you notice growth, reinforcing confidence and commitment. Mindset also influences how you recover from mistakes. Slip-ups are inevitable. How you respond determines whether the habit strengthens or weakens. A growth mindset allows you to bounce back quickly, learn the lesson, and continue. A fixed mindset allows one mistake to snowball into quitting entirely. Reflection supports mindset development. Take time regularly to consider what you're learning from your habits. Ask, what worked today? What didn't? How can I improve tomorrow? Reflection strengthens awareness, reinforces identity, and promotes continuous growth. Surrounding yourself with the right influences also shapes mindset. Positive, growth-focused people, books, and media reinforce the belief that change is possible. Toxic, negative, or fixed-minded influences reinforce doubt and stagnation. Environment and mindset work hand in hand to support habits. Self-efficacy, the belief in your ability to succeed, is central to mindset. Every small habit completed builds evidence for your competence. Each time you follow through, you reinforce the belief, "I am capable." That belief fuels further action, creating a reinforcing cycle. Mindset isn't static. You can cultivate it intentionally through reflection, learning, visualization, and daily actions. The more you act in alignment with growth-oriented beliefs, the stronger your mindset becomes. Over time, your mindset becomes automatic, influencing all areas of life. The role of mindset in habits also explains why two people can follow the same system but achieve different results. It's not the method alone, it's the way the mind interprets and executes it. The person with the right mindset persists, adapts and grows. The person without it gives up or drifts. Positive self-talk is a tool that reinforces mindset. Replace "I can't" with "I'm learning." Replace "I'll never" with "I can improve." Your brain listens to your thoughts and adjusts your behavior accordingly. Mindset shapes the lens through which you interpret actions and results. A growth mindset also encourages curiosity. Instead of fearing mistakes, you explore new ways to improve. You ask questions, experiment, and adjust. Habits evolve, improve, and strengthen. Curiosity keeps actions fresh, reducing boredom and increasing long-term consistency. Mindset also affects goal setting. A fixed mindset may focus on outcome goals, losing a certain amount of weight, earning a specific number, or finishing a project. A growth mindset focuses on systems and habits, the daily actions that lead to results. Systems-based thinking reduces pressure and increases resilience. When habits are guided by a strong mindset, failure becomes feedback, effort becomes meaningful, and consistency becomes natural. The mind sees every action as a step toward growth, reinforcing persistence and reinforcing identity. Mindset also interacts with motivation. Motivation fluctuates, but a strong growth mindset provides stability. You don't rely solely on how you feel, you rely on what you believe about yourself and your process. This makes habits more reliable and results more predictable. The mindset you cultivate also affects your perception of time. The fixed mindset seeks quick results and grows impatient with slow progress. The growth mindset focuses on long-term improvement, understanding that small, consistent actions compound into extraordinary outcomes. Finally, mindset creates resilience. Challenges, setbacks, and obstacles will always appear. With the right mindset, you don't quit. You adjust, learn, and keep going. Your habits become stronger, your identity more solid, and your results inevitable. In the end, mindset is the silent force behind every habit. It shapes your actions, reinforces your identity, and determines your response to challenges. By cultivating a growth-oriented, resilient, and action-focused mindset, you turn small habits into unstoppable momentum. Success is not just about what you do, it's about how you think. Your mindset directs your habits, and your habits shape your life. Choose a mindset that believes in growth, persistence, and learning. Your habits will follow, and your future will reflect it. The person who cultivates the right mindset doesn't rely on luck, chance, or bursts of effort. They act consistently, recover quickly from setbacks, and grow steadily. Mindset turns small habits into extraordinary success. And that success, achieved quietly, steadily, and consistently, is available to anyone who chooses to cultivate the right mindset. Chapter 10. Motivation versus discipline. Many people believe that motivation is the key to success. They wait to feel inspired, thinking that a sudden burst of energy or excitement will drive them to act. But motivation is fleeting. It comes and goes, influenced by mood, environment, and external circumstances. Relying solely on motivation is like building a house on sand, unstable and unpredictable. Discipline, on the other hand, is the foundation that holds everything together. Discipline is doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it. Discipline is showing up consistently, day after day, regardless of mood or motivation. Habits are built on discipline, not fleeting inspiration. Motivation is great for starting things. It sparks interest, energy, and excitement. It can get you to begin a workout, start reading, or tackle a project. But it doesn't keep you going. Motivation fades, and without discipline, the work stops. Discipline carries you through the days when motivation is absent. The difference between motivation and discipline is like fire and bricks. Motivation is the fire. It gives light and energy but burns out quickly. Discipline is the bricks. It forms the structure that survives storms and lasts. Motivation may start the process, but discipline completes it. Discipline doesn't depend on feelings. You don't wait for a good mood to act. You set systems and routines that ensure action regardless of how you feel. It's showing up for a short workout when tired, writing a page when distracted, or studying a lesson when bored. Each act of discipline compounds over time into massive results. Consistency is the bridge between discipline and success. When you act consistently, you build habits, skills, and confidence. Discipline is the engine, and consistency is the track. Together, they carry you to results that motivation alone could never sustain. Many people make the mistake of chasing motivation endlessly. They listen to inspirational videos, read books, or watch speeches, hoping for a burst of energy. While these can be helpful, they are temporary. Motivation is external, unpredictable, and unreliable. Discipline is internal, structured, and dependable. One way to cultivate discipline is through small, repeatable actions. Don't rely on giant efforts or massive changes. Instead, commit to small, achievable habits that can be maintained daily. Discipline grows gradually, like a muscle, through repeated effort. Another critical point is preparation. Discipline thrives in systems. Set up your environment, routines, and cues to support consistent action. Lay out your workout clothes, organize your workspace, or schedule study time in advance. When the path is clear, discipline is easier to maintain. Discipline also shapes identity. Every time you act with discipline, you reinforce the belief, I am capable, reliable, and committed. Over time, these repeated actions become automatic. You no longer have to rely on motivation because your identity aligns with your habits. Motivation fluctuates because it depends on external factors, emotions, energy, circumstances. Discipline does not. Discipline doesn't wait for the right time, mood, or feeling. It acts in the present, and that action accumulates into results. Think about successful athletes, writers, or entrepreneurs. They don't act only when inspired. They show up every day, push through fatigue, and take consistent action. Motivation may light the spark, but discipline keeps the fire burning. Discipline also builds confidence. Each act of commitment reinforces the belief that you can control your actions and outcomes. Confidence then feeds further action, creating a positive cycle that strengthens habits and results. Motivation can be an ally, but it is unreliable on its own. Discipline ensures that progress continues when motivation disappears. Motivation is useful for starting new habits, but discipline sustains them over months and years. Another aspect of discipline is delayed gratification. It allows you to resist short-term pleasure in favor of long-term growth. You choose exercise over comfort, study over distraction, and persistence over quitting. Each choice reinforces your identity and strengthens your habits. Discipline doesn't eliminate discomfort. It teaches you to act despite it. Motivation avoids discomfort, acting only when it feels good or exciting. Discipline moves forward regardless, turning effort into progress and progress into results. The compound effect magnifies discipline. Small, disciplined actions repeated consistently create massive outcomes over time. Writing one page daily, running 10 minutes daily, or studying one lesson daily may seem insignificant, but over weeks, months, and years, the impact is enormous. Accountability reinforces discipline. Sharing your goals, reporting progress, and committing publicly increases adherence. Discipline combined with accountability creates unstoppable momentum. Systems are another way to leverage discipline. When your habits, routines, and environment support the actions you want to take, discipline is easier to maintain. Reduce friction for positive actions and increase friction for negative ones. Let your environment carry the weight when motivation is low. Even when motivation returns, discipline amplifies its effect. Inspiration combined with structured action leads to exponential growth. Motivation may give a burst, but discipline ensures it is not wasted. Discipline also teaches resilience. Life will throw challenges, distractions, and setbacks your way. Motivation alone will fail in difficult times. Discipline persists through adversity, ensuring that progress continues despite obstacles. The habit of discipline starts small. You don't need to overhaul your life overnight. Begin with tiny, manageable actions and grow them gradually. Each successful repetition strengthens your self-control and reinforces the behavior. Celebrate progress, but don't rely on motivation to create it. Discipline is internal. Motivation is external. Discipline builds character, habits, and results. Motivation can boost energy and focus temporarily, but discipline guarantees growth over time. Discipline frees you from the tyranny of feelings. You no longer wait to feel motivated. You act because action is part of your identity. You become someone who shows up, even when conditions are less than perfect. Consistency, systems, and mindset support discipline. Motivation alone cannot sustain long-term results. Discipline turns small actions into habits, habits into skills, and skills into success. Finally, discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you want to become. Motivation may light the way, but discipline ensures you walk the path. When motivation fades, discipline carries you forward, and over time, that disciplined path leads to extraordinary results. In the end, motivation is temporary, but discipline is lasting. Motivation sparks action. Discipline sustains it, habit by habit, choice by choice. Disciplined action compounds into success. The person who relies on discipline rather than motivation builds a life that is unstoppable. Discipline is freedom. It allows you to act regardless of feelings, circumstances, or challenges. Motivation comes and goes, but discipline keeps you moving forward. That is the power that transforms small actions into big success.